Hey traders, welcome back to the FXE YouTube channel. I'm back for another update as we had some interesting price action yesterday. And the funny thing is, I had a look at my Twitter feed. It seems there are a lot of influencers that got the direction wrong. Seems like I was probably the only person that was considering the idea of longs on EU. Feels pretty good to make money when all these famous influencers got it wrong. But at the same time, it sucks to know that a lot of people must have lost money as signal providers were posting short signals. Anyways, let's have a look at the charts and see what happened. Okay, starting with DXY on the daily time frame. So during the weekend video on the daily time frame, I was hoping if we got a pullback that DXY wouldn't take out this liquidity above. I was seeing this as a strong high and I didn't want to see that go if DXY was going to come down for a pullback. As I mentioned, we did sweep buy side liquidity. We did come deep into premium. If it wanted to go down, the area that DXY was at the time the market closed made the most sense. Reason being is we started to have a reaction on the lower time frame. We did have a shift already. So if it wanted to go down, that area made the most sense. And you can see that is what in fact happened. DXY did come down and it came into the initial target that I was expecting. So price did come into the daily fair value gap. Okay, now onto the hourly time frame. So when the market opened, you can see that DXY immediately came down. We consolidated pre-Asia, and then once Japan opened, we started to push down and continue to the downside. And then once London came around, it was a complete mess, really choppy the entire session. We did start to get some continuation at the start of New York, but thereafter had a massive pullback. So again, really choppy during the AM session of New York, and then eventually price started to come down and continue to the downside during the PM session. So price, you can see, is quite efficient all the way down. There's only one fair value gap that was created just above the current price. So from here, the things that I'll be watching for. I'll be watching for the reaction when price comes into this fair value gap above. I'll be watching this hourly supply. If price breaks through this fair value gap and continues a little higher, see if the supply holds and see if we get continuation to the downside or not. I'll also be watching to see if we can break this hourly fair value gap below, and then if we can break through that, I'll be watching to see if we can break through the entire daily fair value gap that we're currently in. And last but not least, there's one other thing that I will be watching for. If we go on the lower time frames, you can see that we created a gap when the market opened. So that's a 5-minute, this is a 15-minute. So you can see that we did come into it to mitigate it a little, but that's not enough for me. Volume imbalances or new week opening gaps, those should be filled completely. So either it leaves it open and just continues to the downside and does a pullback it wants to do, or there is a chance that it may come back for it. And just to add, if DXY does continue down without a pullback, let me go with the daily time frame. If DXY does continue down from here without a significant pullback, you'll see that we will create a new daily fair value gap. And if that happens, then that'll be an area of interest in the future. And let's go back to the hourly. I'll give you some examples of the type of price action that I'll be looking for. So I'll make it as simple as possible. I'm not going to put a huge number of examples. I'll just put 2. So for the bearish scenario, the price that we're currently at, so from the current area or from the fair value gap above, I want to see if this daily fair value gap goes, and if it does, if we get a reaction and support from the inverted fair value gap, and then further continuation to the downside, and then see if the daily fair value gap acts as an inversion fair value gap for continuation to the downside. And then for the bullish scenario, I'll see if we break through this fair value gap, and then see if that fair value gap acts as support for continuation to the upside. We'll probably have a reaction in supply as well before continuing to the upside. Okay, now on to EU, starting with the daily time frame. So during my weekend analysis, I mentioned that if EU were to go up for a pullback, it made the most sense to get a pullback from here. The reasons behind this bullish idea was the fact that we were in OTE, deep into discount, and this inversion fair value gap that we have right here was really the only strong area of support left on this entire bullish leg that we had to the upside. And for those that saw my weekend analysis, I gave the example of what you would be looking for on the lower time frames if you were to enter a trade. So at market open, you can see we aggressively pushed to the upside. Well, aggressively, we had a strong bullish run to the upside. It wasn't that aggressive, to be honest, because it was quite choppy, especially during London session and AM session of New York. But price eventually made it to the daily fair value gap, and that was the area that I was targeting. So what I can say now is, now that we've hit our initial buy side target, there is a chance that price just continues to melt from here. But at the same time, I could see the scenario where we broke through the daily fair value gap and continue to the upside. Okay, now if we go to the hourly time frame, you can see that when the market opened, we had this initial push to the upside. We had some consolidation early in Asia, and thereafter we had continuation to the upside. And then when London came around, you can see that it was really choppy. So it was really choppy in this area up until through AM session of New York. And then when we started to get into the PM session, that's when we started to have the continuation to the upside. So once we had that continuation to the upside, had a pullback, and then we actually filled inefficiency here, and then we had continuation to the upside coming into our initial buy side target, which is the daily fair value gap. So you can see that, okay, we came into this daily fair value gap. We nearly came into the refined hourly fair value gap, and in doing so, we created these equal highs. So more liquidity just above us. And we also nearly came into premium of this last leg to the downside. You can see that the price action was quite efficient thanks to the choppiness all the way up. The only thing that we really have is one hourly fair value gap that's just below the current price. And we also have the refined hourly fair value gap just above us. So from here, what I'll be watching for is to see if the fair value gap below us, whether it holds or not, and if we can break through the hourly refined fair value gap above us, and then the subsequent daily fair value gap as well. And then if we can do that, then I'm a little more confident that we may continue to push to the upside. But we are in an area, a strong area of interest that we can completely reverse from as well. So if I look at the scenarios that I'll be watching for, and again, quite simplified, I'll be watching to see if we break through this bullish fair value gap below, and thereafter it acts as support for continuation to the downside. I will also be watching for a bullish scenario where we do sweep above these equal highs I'm guessing probably a reaction after, and then to see if we can break through it after. If we can break through the refined fair value gap, it'll probably act as support, and then we'll have continuation to the upside. And then once we break the daily fair value gap, that will act as support for continuation to the upside. That's it for the update for today. As I said, we're in a critical area right now. EU could go either way. Japan will open in about an hour. Price is coming down. So if we retest that fair value gap below with a reaction at Japan Open, I will be looking for buys. Anyways, good luck trading for the rest of the week, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.
Black Swan.